Hello, it is I are Smart. A bit of a different video today. I'm just gonna have Fallout 4 gameplay playing in the back, no webcam. But I'm here to talk about the Fallout TV show that just came out on Amazon Prime. Now, I'm not gonna take too long, explain to all why the show is good. I might do that a bit later. But I mean, there's already a lot of videos on that topic, and you just need to know this show is good, very, very good. It's enjoyable for old fans and new fans alike. But I'm here to tell you about why I, as a Fallout fan, I'm just so happy that the series is being well received by the majority of people, because this franchise has been needing this win. I became a fan of Fallout back in 2016-ish. When I picked up Fallout 4 at the store, I watched a couple YouTube videos on it, and it just looked cool, so I went and bought it. I was only 14 at the time, and it was the first mature game I'd ever played, fun fact, and I just loved it. It's not the best game in the franchise by any means, but I have so many hours in it. It's just, I fell in love with it. It was my introduction into the world of Fallout, and I immediately fell in love. And now I've played all the main games, at least, not Fallout Tactics, and I haven't played Fallout 2 yet, but I'm gonna play it eventually. But I've played Fallout 1, which is like, the game that started it all, which was really cool to see where the franchise started. But back to the main thing I'm talking about here. I've been a Fallout fan for years, but since Fallout 76 came out in 2018, the online game, the franchise has not been in a good place. You see, I don't need to dwell on why Fallout 76 had a terrible launch. You probably heard about it, even if you're not a Fallout fan. It's just, it had such a bad launch, and the controversy around the game, why it even exists in the first place. I mean, it kind of stained the franchise's name forever. And, I mean, the game is better now. There's more content. They fixed a lot of the issues that were there at launch. It's just, I personally still don't like the game very much. It's not the kind of game I enjoy as much as something like Fallout 4. The main thing is the fact that the game did poorly, and that hurt the franchise, which sucked for fans like me, because then I had to watch everyone on the internet just hating on it, be like, Fallout's dead, Fallout's ruined now, Bethesda ruined Fallout forever, it's never gonna come back, and it sucks to that, I've become kind of numb to it in Star Wars, fans just constantly hating on everything in Star Wars. I'm kind of used to it there, but Fallout's been like my comfort franchise, if that makes sense. Like, for years, I haven't talked much about Fallout, like, on my YouTube channel, or really anywhere outside. Like, I talk about it with some people, but it's just, I watch YouTube videos on it, and I just played the games in my spare time. It's just, I never really talked to it, because since Fallout 76, Fallout's just been kind of on the down low, Not really big in the public eye. It's kind of like the fan base was in hibernation, if that makes sense. Like, we had a couple things to keep us occupied, and, the great thing about Fallout games is there's tons of mods that are constantly made by members of the communities, which keeps us entertained. But the thing is, we knew that the next Fallout game was probably still a decade away, because Bethesda's got a lot of their games they're making. They got to make, the Starfield that came out, and then they have to make the next Elder Scrolls game, and maybe we'll get Fallout 5 eventually. But then they announced this Fallout show, and, not much was known about it, but, still cool when they announced it. Like, oh, okay, a Fallout TV show, that sounds interesting, looking forward to that. Then there were some leaked set photos, and it was like, wow, that's a vault. They really built a vault? That looks just like the games. Then they had the trailers come out, and I'm like, wow, that looks really good. I'm getting really excited for this show. Then over the last month or so, the marketing's been really ramping up for the show. Like, all posters everywhere, tons of ads everywhere. Hey, get excited for the Fallout show. And then all the episodes came out at once. We got to binge the whole series. It was awesome. I'm so happy to say that the series is good. I'm not going to talk about spoilers on the show, but just to give you an overview, the production and the set design is just incredible. Very, very game accurate. I mean, you can just tell they put time and love to it. There's some people like comparisons between like the game and the TV show, and they look exactly the same. It's insane. There's so many times I was watching this and I was just like, whoa, that looks exactly like it does in the game. There's just attention to detail, I'm telling you. I mean, to be fair, when you have the Amazon budget, like, it doesn't surprise me too much that they were able to build an entire vault and multiple suits of working power armor, but it's still impressive, and care was put into making it look accurate. The acting is very good, very great performances all around. We got like three main characters. I'll start with Aaron Moten, who plays Maximus. I think he has some of the best acting in the whole thing. Like, some of his scenes early on gives really, really good performance. I think he just got it really good. And he just has a nice balance of, like, I don't want to spoil too much for you, but he's kind of like a neutral character, a neutral comrade. Like, he's not super good, not super bad, he's kind of in the middle. Then, in contrast, that we have Walton Goggins, who plays Cooper Howard, who then becomes the Ghoul, who's like our evil character in the show. And he manages to do these parts so well. That's like, again, I don't want to spoil too much for you, but he plays like a more like, family man kind of guy in the before war. You see this in the trailer, but then he plays the more gritty Ghoul character. And he plays that dichotomy so well. in the back and in like the flashback scenes and then the present scenes. He does a really great job of that. And I haven't seen Walton Goggins very much, but he just does a really good job. And Ella Purnell, I mean, come on, man. I mean, first of all, I'm just gonna get this out here. I think she's really pretty. I'm gonna say that she is very pretty. But like besides that, she perfectly was able to capture the vault dweller, like that kind of concept. Just that she grew up in a sheltered vault. She doesn't know much about the world, but then she steps out. She sees the world for the first time. She got this big wide-eyed expression on her face. I mean, well, her eyes are just big because that's just how her face is. She's just cute like that. But I mean, like you know what I mean. She has this very wide-eyed expression, and she's like a vehicle, if that makes sense, for the audience to see this world. If they're not as familiar, fans like me are going to be familiar with the world of Fallout. But when she sees, ooh, what's that? What's that? What's that? The audience is right there with her, and they can relate to her, which is just a really good tactic used by the show to get people invested in the characters and story. She even gets to say some of the best lines in the whole show, like her catchphrase, like "Okie dokie," is just so perfect for her character, like a vault dweller, just like that old-timey phrase, 1950s kind of era, and then contrast it with the grittiness of the wasteland. It's perfect. And that leads into my next point. The show is funny. They perfectly capture the humor from the games, which is the thing that I thought would be the hardest to translate. The games just have this great dark humor, and it's just part of that unique Fallout charm, because it's not just, oh, dark, gritty, but haha. There's something about Fallout. I don't know how to describe it. Someone smarter than me is gonna, probably figure out a way to describe it, but it's just, the games have a unique sense of humor, and this show got it perfect, in my opinion. The show has, like, gory elements. It has, like, violence and blood and guts going all over the place, right? And that's been a thing in Fallout since, the original game, right? Always, really gory blood and shooting people and stuff. Right, but the thing is, it's always been on the goofy side. It hasn't really been like glorification of violence, like super gritty, horrible. It's been like, silly, like you shoot a dude and eyeballs pop out of his head. It's just silly enough that it just becomes not a bad thing, right? Does that make sense? It sounds kind of bad when I'm describing like violence, but the way that Fallout does violence is silly and goofy and fits the aesthetic so perfectly, and is what makes Fallout so unique. That kind of satirical take on everything that it does. And this show gets all that stuff so perfectly. And the story of the show is solid. It draws you in, leaves just enough unanswered questions to get you excited for the next season, season 2, which has already been confirmed, which I'm just super high about. Like, as soon as like the credits roll, I was like, I need it now. Give me season 2 now. I need it. My only real complaints that I have is just minor lore stuff, and I mean really minor stuff. Like, there's a bunch of haters on this show. I mean, it's actually a pretty small group I've seen hating it. Most of what I've seen is positive, but there are haters on this show trying to be like, Amazon ruined Fallout. They took a crap on the lore. It's so awful. It's like, no, there are some lore issues that have been brought up that people are discussing, but really it's minor stuff that can be explained away pretty easily. I've already seen like good explanations for most of the problems. So, and again, that's only stuff that's going to bother longtime fans like me. And as a fan who's been in the franchise for a decently long time, it didn't even bother me that much. So it's super like ignorable, and especially if you're someone new, you're not even going to notice it. You're not even going to notice the issues here. The show is overall just so good. And like I said with being a fan, there's so many references to the game for fans like me to catch, which I love, but what I also love is you don't have to understand those references to understand the story. Like, I can point and be like, oh, that's a poster on the wall from the game, or oh, that's Nuka-Cola. But you don't have to know that to understand or appreciate the story. This is a big problem I had with something like Ahsoka, where you had to have watched like The Mandalorian to know why Ahsoka's doing what she's doing right now, and you have to, watch the Clone Wars series to know who Ahsoka is, and you have to watch Star Wars Rebels to know who all the other side characters are, because the show doesn't really do a good job of explaining them. They say, oh, you don't have to watch those shows, but you really do if you want to get the full experience out of it. But, with this game, with Fallout, you don't have to have played the games to understand the show and appreciate it. Case in point, my dad, who, I tell him a bit about the series, but he's never played in the games. He's not very familiar with it. And, he didn't catch all the references I did. I would be like, oh, that's that thing, and he'd be like, whatever. But still, he told me he was able to still really, really enjoy the series. And he just found it entertaining and really great, which I think is just a really great strength of the show. It stands on its own and is a great introduction into the Fallout series, but it still has all those good references and stuff for fans like me who are going to appreciate that. Basically what I'm trying to say overall, I've gone on for quite a while now just talking about how great the show is because I can't help myself, but the series is good. That's my main point here, and I can tell a lot of love and care went into making this show. You can tell the people behind it are fans of the series, like they actually like know what they're talking about. It's not just, oh, we have to adapt Fallout. What's Fallout? I don't know. Like, I think even Ella Purnell said, like, she played some of Fallout 4 to get ready for the part, which is just really cool. Jonathan Nolan, the creator of the show, said he was a big fan of Fallout 3 growing up, which is just really cool to see. Like, you can tell this was made by Fallout fans, for Fallout fans, and new fans, which is just really awesome. I think this show is just going to bring so many new people into the franchise, which is why I'm so excited about it, because Fallout has needed this. It's needed a boost to the fan base, you know, bringing in more people. Like, already on YouTube, I've seen a spike in content, and I think that's going to last for quite a while. If you want some recommendations for some Fallout channels, I can recommend some for you. There's a lot of great channels that have been making content over the years. A couple I'll name here. Jabbo is a great channel. It's Jabbo. He makes videos like on challenges for Fallout and a couple of other games, but mainly Fallout stuff. Just different challenges, the game kind of speedrun-ish, that sort of vibe. Juve also does challenges like, can you play Fallout 4 without leaving this location? And he does that for Skyrim as well. A lot of great videos by him. Both of them make a bit longer videos, very high quality, and they collaborate sometimes. Another great channel I love is Nerbit, who makes challenge runs for Fallout. You know, like, can you beat Fallout 4 using only the starter pistols? Stuff like that. You know, like, can you, or like weapon restrictions, like you can only use this weapon, you have to do this thing. It's really fun, entertaining videos. They're quick, they're concise. He does some other content too, but mainly Fallout stuff. I know I made all these channels sound kind of the same. They all do challenge type stuff with the games, but they all have their own differences. They're all unique, and I'd highly recommend checking out any of them if you're not familiar. And if you want to actually get into the games, I can recommend starting with either Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. I think both of those are really fun games, and they're going to be a good introduction into the series. Fallout New Vegas, you're gonna need to play that eventually, because it's just such a good game. It has the best story in like all the games. I think you get to make so many great choices throughout the story that affect the story and the gameplay that you're gonna have. It's just, there's so much that's great about Fallout New Vegas, and while it's a pretty old game, it still holds up so well. It's the best one in the series considered by a lot of fans. I think it's really great, but I'd personally start with 3 or 4 to really get you in, and then play New Vegas. And then if you want to go back and play like Fallout 1 and 2, you can do that, but again, those are really only if you're really, really into the franchise, because they're a bit clunkier, those old games. And before anyone comments, no, I'm not a paid Amazon shill. They're not paying me to say this show is good, alright? I wouldn't be recommending Amazon otherwise, alright? Like, it's just, this show is so good, I have to tell you about it, because it's so good. I loved it so much, right? You know, if you're really like, no, I don't want to give Amazon my money, which I totally understand. I think you can get like free trials from what I understand. Like, I think Prime Video has a free trial. You can just do that. Just do that and then get rid of it before you have to pay them. It's easy, all right? And also watch Invincible. That show's also really good. And The Boys. Those are the only things I've watched on Amazon Prime. Fallout, Invincible, and The Boys, and they're all really good. But yeah, it's just, I'm really excited about this resurgence of Fallout and its fan base, you know? We got all these new people joining the fan base. And I've already seen some mods, you know, like for Fallout 4 based on things in the show. That's really cool to see. Fallout 4 has a very active modding community. It's still making really cool mods. Some of them are a bit more on the suspicious side, just know that going in. But there's a lot of great mods that add great stuff to the game. And I think Fallout 4 just has so much potential for modding. And I think that's why the game has stayed alive for as long as it is. Because, I mean, it's a good game, but it would be nothing without its modding community. So I feel like that's worth mentioning. And the other games, you know, mods too, Fallout 3 and New Vegas, have a pretty decent amount of mods. But yeah, no, and YouTube videos, like I said before, you know, there's people playing the games. It's like, oh, returning to Fallout 4 in 2024, or, you know, timeline of the Fallout franchise, or, you know, lore explanation of this faction in Fallout. It's just, it takes back to a time of like Fallout 2016, you know, Fallout was the big popular thing. It takes me back, and it's so great to see. So welcome to the Fallout fandom, new people. We got our problems, we got our fans who will tell you you're stupid if you like a game they don't, or don't like the one they like. But we all got a love for this wacky franchise of post-apocalyptic games, and now there's a streaming series. And while that's new for the franchise, things still feel the same, because I know Fallout. Fallout never changes. Actually, it changes a lot, and now that I think about it, so does war. Why do they say war never changes? War changes all the time.